Today, we asked people to record personal healthcare stories, whether that story is about a healthcare experience, lack of coverage, healthcare experience in another country, or just avoiding going to see the doctor because it's too expensive here.
Healthcare is a human right, not a privilege, and together we will pass a Medicare for all single-payer program.
Georgia Davenport, campaign director for Whole Washington.
My name is Laura Fielding, and I'm the founder of the grassroots organization Red Berets Medicare for All.
I'm Alan Richrod in Aberdeen, coming to you directly from the woodshed where I keep my musical grade wood.
Hey everybody, my name is Alicia Ramirez and I am a supporter of Whole Washington.
I'm a volunteer with Whole Washington, also with Red Berets, also with Washington Bernie Grants Coalition, also with Our Revolution.
The United States, shamefully, is the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people.
At one point, my husband and I got pregnant. This was before we were married and before we had insurance. 3 months into my pregnancy, I had severe cramping. So I went to the doctor and I had an ultrasound. And it turns out I was having a miscarriage. The doctor informed me that I could get something called a B and C, which would make the miscarriage easier and go faster. But that it would cost thousands of dollars and that the insurance that I had would not cover it. So I opted to not have a DNC because I couldn't afford it. So I went home, had the miscarriage, terribly painful, and it lasted quite a few days. But that was all over, and a few months later, I got a bill from the hospital. It was a collector saying that I owed hundreds of dollars for the ultrasound and for the doctor's visit. So I called the collector and I asked how that was possible. And he informed me, and I could tell it was very hard for him as well. He informed me that because the baby wasn't viable, that the insurance no longer covered my care.
To make sure that the people who have served, and many of whom who have lost their lives and come home to commit suicide or are sleeping out in the streets, friends and their families and their fellow Americans aren't even guaranteed health care as a human right.
In February of 2019, the first Saturday evening, I went to the emergency room of the hospital with severe abdominal pain. This is the first time that I had actually been in a hospital for something happening to me since 1959, so I knew things were a bit different. Back then it was non-profit and insurance was affordable. To make a long story short, my gallbladder had gone necrotic and swollen to the point where they couldn't get it out through a laparoscopic procedure, and they had to cut it out with a knife just like they used to do back when healthcare was non-profit. It's okay, everything's fine, and I've healed up and we're back on the road. But I now have a bill of $87,000 that I can't pay and won't live long enough to pay it off.
My mother-in-law, she had been sick since my husband was a teenager. The past year, she started having a lot of problems with her heart. So she was relying on a lot of charity care, sliding scale clinics, and wasn't getting the care that she needed. So we get to the hospital, and she's now in a coma. She can't hear us. She's on the ventilator. She's in cardiac ICU. She died that night.
As I'm hemophiliac, I have 3% clotting factor normally. I rely on medication for survival and for any sort of quality of life. And one order of my medicine costs about $20,000 to $30,000 every month. To this day, I still have debt from an emergency room visit where I didn't have insurance coverage and I didn't have medication. And so I had to go to the emergency room because I had a bump on my hand. I just bumped it. And it swelled up, and I couldn't move my thumb. I was in excruciating pain, and there was nothing I could do but go to the ER. But I didn't want to go to the ER, because I knew that if I went to the ER, I'd be stuck with a bill. I went to the doctor, got my meds, went out, healed up, everything's fine. Just a normal day for me, until I get the bill in the mail. And I have to pay for that one visit, that one doctor visit, almost 30 grand. Almost 30 grand.
We've got 30 million people today without any health insurance. Many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and high copayments, and we pay the highest prices in the world by far for prescription drugs. So, issue number one, I believe that healthcare is a human right, not a privilege, and we've got to guarantee healthcare to all of our people as a right.
So that is why I'm so passionate about universal healthcare. No one should go through that. An insurance adjuster should not have to make that phone call. Everyone should be covered. Healthcare is a human right. That's why I work with Whole Washington and work on Medicare for All. Every other developed country has figured this out, and it's just awful that we haven't been able to figure out how to cover our own citizens and residents so that they don't have to go through things like this.
I ask all of you who are strong proponents of Medicare for All, or even just know that we can do better in our healthcare system, that we need to get our priorities straight, and we need to be brave enough to speak out. Because there are tens of thousands of Americans who are dying every year under our for-profit system, and it doesn't need to be that way. My sister lives in Canada, and her life has been saved twice under the Canadian system. So thank you for watching, and thank you for everything that you do, and use the hashtag Red Berets, Medicare for All, Knit for Nurses, Crochet for Care, and Healthcare Not Warfare, and put on a red beret. And thank you. Bye.
It's indicative of the way things are in the state of Washington, and we have to fix this. And we can, with the whole Washington healthcare plan. And I urge you to check that out on the web. wholewashington.org, I believe, is the website. And maybe within our own lifetimes we can get this taken care of. And so that's all I really wanted to say, is that we need to get this fixed, because healthcare is a right by the fact that you're a human being, which is kind of what they meant with the phrase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, from both of us, thank you, and help however you can, right?
One of the things that we've been really coping with and struggling with, and I feel this way too, is that we feel that if she had gotten better care, she had health insurance, or she had better care along the way, she would still be with us. And that's really hard to deal with. No one should have to die in this way, in such a horrible way, because they're undocumented and can't qualify for insurance. That's not right. I believe everyone should be covered regardless of gender, race, immigration status. It doesn't matter. If you're here, you're one of us, you're part of our community, we should be caring for one another.
Before that moment, I'd never known anything other than insurance. But at that moment, I knew that our system was broken and that it needed to change. This was even before Bernie. I didn't get involved then, but now I am, and now I'm going to do it for the rest of my life until we get it. It's people like me that have an unseen illness and an invisible illness that really take the brunt of the system. Because I'm in a gray area, and I don't want to be in a gray area anymore. So I fight this fight for everybody who can't, and for everybody that really wants change in this world. I love you all. Peace.
With these hands, we're going to transform this country in a way that they've never seen before. With these hands, we will have Medicare for all.
To the private health insurance companies, whether you like it or not, the United States will join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a right.